Welcome to your Astro Forecast for the week of July 22nd, 2024. I am Sarah Nicole. This is Twisted Goddess Tarot, and my mission is to help you navigate the cosmic energies with greater awareness. If you're watching right now, you are probably watching the replay, and if that's the case, go ahead and leave a comment so I can come back and say hi to you. If you're new here, we do this every Monday where I chat about what is happening in the skies to bring light to how this week's astrology may affect you. Of course, this is going to be at a collective level. How these astrological events affect you personally is going to depend on how it's interacting with your personal birth chart. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Starting off with today, this is actually something that I have already posted about on my page. Welcome to Leo season. So we are officially in Leo season. We are leaving Cancer season behind. So whether you are a Leo sun sign or not, we are all going to be feeling this energy over the next month. So as the sun moves into Leo, we are in Leo season. So that's what that means. If you hear us say Cancer season or Leo season, that's what we mean. The sun is in that sign during this time. So Leo is ruled by the sun, the planetary body of life force, energy, creativity, expression. So the sun is in its home sign while we are celebrating Leo season. So this is really something for all of us to celebrate, not just those who have Leo as their sun sign, because the sun is the strongest while it's in Leo, right? Its ability to give us life force, energy, and confidence, and clarity, and light, and creativity and expressiveness is amplified while the sun is in Leo. So Leo is, of course, represented by the lion, embodying the royal status of the zodiac. Leo energy really mirrors this by giving us a lion's heart, but brave, but also playful, right? So in tarot, Leo is actually represented by the strength card. So this reminds us that true strength comes from not outer strength, but from compassion. And this is why the heart is really highlighted on the strength card, which represents Leo. So strength doesn't come from outer strength, right? This is what this card reminds us. This is what Leo energy reminds us as well. It comes from compassion, it comes from radical self-acceptance, and it comes from unconditional self-love. So the strength that we're speaking about here when we're talking about the strength card as associated with Leo's tarot card is more accurately described as fortitude. So as the sun moves into the constellation of Leo, you may feel more creative, you may feel more warm, you may feel more expressive, you may be kind of ready to emerge from your shell that you created during Cancer season. You'll want to share more of yourself. You'll want to share yourself more openly. But of course, every astrological placement has its benefits as well as its challenges. And with the sun in Leo, we do want to watch for too much pride. We want to watch for overactive egos. And we also want to watch for sensitivity to criticism during this time as well. So the lesson of this season, the lesson of Leo season, is to seek your own approval over the approval of others. So be sure to check out my other page, Twisted Goddess Crystals, to find the crystal recommendations for you to work with during Leo season. What if you are a Leo sun sign, then these are crystals that you could work with all year long to help temper and balance your own energies. If you're not a Leo sun sign, these are going to be crystals that you can work with while the sun is in Leo to temper and balance the energies that are incoming, okay? Also, shameless plug, this is one of my handmade macrame necklaces, Twisted Goddess Crystals. You can find it there as well. The link is tagged in this live video. Each week I kind of wear one of my different necklaces that are available in the shop to feature it while we're doing this free Astro Forecast for you. So if you are a Leo, If you are a Leo, oh, also, while you go to Twisted Goddess Crystals to look at the crystals to work with over Leo season, you'll also find that I have made a Leo season crystal bundle where you can grab all of those crystals for yourself, but it is limited, so I would snatch one of those quick if you are a Leo or have a Leo in your life or just want these crystals to navigate Leo season with. So if you are a Leo sun sign, go ahead and claim your season. Let us know in the comments so that we can celebrate you and celebrate your solar return. If you have a Leo in your life, tag them, wish them a happy solar return. And for a great gift to yourself, if you are a Leo sun sign, now's your time to check out and order the birthday tarot reading for yourself, which is available on my website. So moving on this week, on Thursday, July 25th, we have Mercury moving into the sign of Virgo. So Mercury is the planet of the mind. Where it is can influence your thoughts, your communication, your perception. Now, Virgo is one of Mercury's home signs, which means that it feels really comfortable there. It likes to be there. So Mercury in Virgo allows us to think more practically and more down to earth. It allows us to be detail oriented and really pick up on things that we may have missed. It can also invite us to be much more discerning. But be mindful, right? Because Mercury in Virgo can also lead to us being overly critical, not only of just yourself, but possibly of others as well. So be mindful of that. Also, Mercury is going to be stationing retrograde while in Virgo, which means that, so it's already in its pre-shadow retrograde phase. So since Mercury is going to be stationing retrograde while it's in Virgo, even though it's going to be in its home sign, which should be very harmonious, since it is going to be stationing retrograde there, it could, some of the positive Mercury in Virgo aspects could be a little bit clouded until after retrograde. Okay, so just be mindful of that as well. And then on Friday, July 26th, this is a big one. This is one we've been prepping for all month. We've had a lot of Chiron energy this month. So we've definitely had the opportunity for some wounds to be triggered this month, for some maybe tense energies this month. And that's kind of going to continue because we do have Chiron stationing retrograde on July 26th. Now remember, retrograde is not a bad thing, right? Retrograde is not a bad thing. Retrograde is not a scary thing. Retrograde is simply that planet or that astrological object slows down so much that from our perspective, it appears to be moving backwards through the zodiac. And during this time, that planet or that planetary body, in this case, Chiron, it's an asteroid, it ends up taking its energy, and instead of projecting it outwardly, it ends up turning it inwardly. It's a much more yin energy. So it slows down. It's a time to reflect. It's a time to realign. It's a time to revisit. It's a time to redo, right? No matter what planet or object is stationing retrograde, that is the case. It's a time to revisit, realign, right? Redo. And so with Chiron, Chiron is our wounded healer, right? Chiron shows us where our greatest wounds are. Chiron is such a powerful energy. If you don't know where Chiron is in your birth chart, absolutely look at that, okay? It can show up very, how do I want to say this? You know, sometimes it can show up kind of loosely, kind of energetically, but Chiron wounds can absolutely show up physically too. And I usually use mine as an example for this, right? So for instance, my Chiron is in Gemini, and Gemini is communication, right? And so, Chiron wounded, so it's the wound of words. It's the wound of communication with Chiron and Gemini. And I had to take speech therapy well into elementary school for years because I could not communicate. You could not understand my S's. You could not understand my R's. And so that's a very physical way, a very real world way that your Chiron wound can show up for you, right? But you can also work to heal that. You can also work to heal that, right? So we have Chiron stationing retrograde starting on Friday, July 26th. It's going to be retrograde until December 29th. So Chiron spends about half the year in retrograde every single year. It's going to be retrograding from 23 degrees Aries back to 19 degrees of Aries. So while Chiron, which is the wounded healer, showing us our deepest wounds, is retrograde, it really is calling us to revisit past wounds, to be able to heal them at a deeper level. It's reminding us that we are always healing, never healed, and that we will continue to peel back layers to get deeper and deeper into the story, to get to heal that narrative deeper. So during this time, while Chiron is retrograde, old wounds that you thought you healed can certainly open back up for deeper healing. Okay, so just be aware of that. If something comes back around and you're like, whoa, where did this come from? I thought I had healed that. I thought I had gotten past that, right? It's just the universe's way of saying, actually, we didn't get to the root of this yet. Actually, there's still something left here for us to process, for us to heal, right? For us to acknowledge, for us to forgive, whatever it is. Now, Chiron in Aries is considered the wound of self-worth. Before we explain that a little bit more, I do want to tell a really beautiful story of Chiron. So Chiron is the wounded healer. You can look up Chiron's story in mythology. That's beautiful. That's going to give you more insight into Chiron and astrology. But, and I've told that story before when talking about Chiron, the mythology, but this time I want to talk about Chiron's placement astrologically and how that really weaves into the story. Nothing is by chance, right? There is divine order to everything in this universe. And the placement of the planets is absolutely divinely ordered as well. So Chiron is an asteroid that sits between Saturn and Uranus. So let's talk about that. What does that mean? Saturn is the planet of the material world, right? Saturn is all about material limitations. It's our restrictions. It's it's like what we need to achieve. It's about responsibility. It's about more like authority and rules and structure, right? So it's very much 3D. It's very much material world. Saturn rules over. Saturn rules over time, right? Chronological order, time. And so we are restricted by certain things here in the material world, right? And Saturn shows us that we do have limitations. We do have restrictions. And then we have Chiron, right? So it's Saturn and then Chiron. We have to get through Chiron in order to get to Uranus. And remember, Saturn is our limitations, our restrictions, the material world. Chiron is our wounds. We have to go through this healing journey and look at those wounds and be uncomfortable in order to get to Uranus, because Chiron sits between Saturn and Uranus. And Uranus is the planet of liberation, of freedom, of authenticity, of really being able to be true to you and not held back. It's the planet of breaking the chains, right? And so I think that's beautiful. And we look at that divine order of that, right? We have this material world and these limitations. But if we could just get through that painful energy of Chiron, those painful wounds, and really sit with them and really feel them and really heal them, then we can get to Uranus. We can get to the liberation. We can get to the freedom to be authentically ourselves. And I think that's a really beautiful story. And I think that's something that I don't hear talked about as much when we talk about Chiron. We hear the mythology of it, but I think its placement between Saturn and Uranus is so powerful and is such a powerful story. So, oh, hey, Deb, thank you so much. So we've been working with Chiron and Aries since 2018. Okay, so Chiron has been in Aries since 2018, and we're going to continue the work here until 2027. It's not going to leave Aries for good, well, not for good, but for a considerable period of time until 2027. And Chiron in Aries is considered the wound of self-worth, the wound of self-worth. So these are so look at where Aries is for you in your birth chart, right? You can see this wounding maybe come up for you. in that area of your life. Okay. If Aries is in your 10th house, then you might have the wound of self-worth as it relates to your career and your reputation. If Aries is in your 7th house, you may have the wound of self-worth showing up for you around your relationships or your one-on-one partnerships, and so on and so forth. So some wounds that may arise with this Chiron retrograde in Aries is you may be seeing wounds surrounding childhood, because Aries is the beginning. Aries is the first zodiac sign, so it represents the beginning, right? Aside from all of the other things that Aries represents, it also represents the beginning. So for us, that is childhood, early childhood. So we could have some patterns repeating from early childhood. The inner child, some things with the inner child could come up. Self-worth, of course, rejection, self-identity. Who am I? That energy could also come up as well. So we could have some, what is that? Existential crisis, right? It's very possible with the wound of self-identity. Who am I? Coming up. Anger management is another wound that could come up. Aloofness or isolation could come up. Cutthroat competition style, right? Needing to be number one or refusing to do it at all. That could certainly come up, as well as the comparison game. That can come up as well. So Chiron retrograde in Aries specifically is really an opportunity for radical self-love and total self-acceptance if you allow those wounds to come forth and feel them and heal them. Okay. Aries in the 2nd house, Deb. Yeah, so that could certainly, this Chiron retrograde could certainly bring up some wounds surrounding self-worth in terms of your finances. Right? If you do you do the thing where you're like, oh, I don't really need that, or self-worth in terms of what you're doing to create finances, is that enough as well, right? So starting to maybe doubt yourself in terms of what you do in order to create your abundance. So just watch out for that as well. All right, and then lastly, this week, we do have on Saturday, July 27th, we have a last quarter moon at 5 degrees Taurus. The last quarter moon occurs when the sun creates a challenging square aspect to the waning moon while the energy of the moon is releasing. So this square aspect is something that really pushes you to action. It creates sort of a tension. It's an uncomfortable aspect in astrology, but it ultimately, here with the last quarter moon, it is to push you to release, to surrender, to let go, right? The moon is letting go. The moon is waning. It's letting go. So the last quarter moon, its themes surround that. Release, surrender, letting go. Astrologically, we should be releasing on the last quarter moon, not on the full moon. Okay? Again, I don't like hard and fast do's and don'ts with spirituality. So if you release on the full moon and that is aligned and that feels aligned for you, please continue to do so. I am not here to tell you what to do. Always trust yourself. But astrologically, the full moon is a time of fullness. It's a time where the light in the sky is at its brightest, right? It's a time to practice gratitude, to practice celebration, as well as practicing illumination, right? Looking to see things clearer because our intuition is heightened at the full moon. Okay. Whereas the last quarter moon is while the light of the moon is releasing, and we have this square aspect that is telling us to take an action of releasing. Okay. So last quarter moon is more astrologically aligned with release work. And we have this last quarter moon coming up on Saturday, July 27th. Choose something to remove from your life that is no longer serving you. This could be a physical object. This could be a personality trait. This could be a relationship, a situation, a belief. Really, it could be anything. If you want, you can look at where Taurus is in your birth chart, because that is where the last quarter moon is going to be activating for you, and you can release something aligned with that. For me personally, Taurus is in my 9th house in my birth chart. So 9th house is all about your belief systems, right? And so for me, it would be a powerful time to release a belief system that no longer aligns with me. But depending on where it is for you, that is going to, Deb, you said Aries was in your 2nd house. That makes Taurus in your 3rd house. So for Deb, it would be activating that, that 3rd house, which would be saying release something associated with the mind, either a mindset or a way of communication. Okay, a thought process, a mindset, a way of communication. If it's moving through your 7th house, that would be definitely a clue to release a relationship, right? If it's moving through your 5th house, your 6th house or your 10th house, that might be a time to release a job or a career that no longer aligns with you. Also, if you like to have a ritual attached to your release work, you can write whatever you're releasing onto a leaf and then release it by burying it into the earth. Now, I know a lot of times we talk about doing burn bowls for release work, right? We talk about burning it. And I think that's a powerful practice. But when I'm releasing with the last quarter moon, I like to use the element that the last quarter moon is in. So if the last quarter moon is occurring in a fire sign, Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius, I'll absolutely release doing a burn bowl. But when it is happening in an earth sign, right, like Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn, I like to release utilizing the earth. So I will dig a hole, write it on a leaf, and bury it. I say write it on a leaf so I'm not littering, and bury it in the earth. Also, remember that you don't have to wait until the full moon to charge your crystals with the moon, because or to make moon water. You don't have to wait till the full moon to make moon water either, because every moon phase has a different theme. And so every moon phase has a different energy that is going to imbue whatever you are charging, whatever you're leaving out. So for the last quarter moon, any crystals, any water, any other spiritual tools that you charge under the last quarter moon are going to hold the energy of releasing. It's going to hold the energy of letting go. It's going to hold the energy of banishing. So full moon water is great when you need some extra power, right? But last quarter moon water could be fantastic when you're doing a banishing ritual, when you're doing a banishing spell, when you're doing a spell where you want to release or let go of something. It could be very powerful for that. And any crystals that you want to use in any kind of release work can be really powerful charged under the last quarter moon. So like, for instance, black tourmaline or black kyanite, something like that would be fabulous charged under the last quarter moon, because it's all about releasing that energy, anything negative, anything that's holding you back, anything that is not serving you. So that is our Astro Forecast for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to let me know. Leave it in the comments. If you missed the beginning of the Astro Forecast, you can always go back and watch the replay, which will be available for you forever as long as Facebook keeps these live videos up. You'll always be able to come back and remind yourself of what is happening in the cosmic dance. All right, so much love.